me a little bit about the conference. What was going on there? What was the biggest part of the event?
The big thing about this conference was that it was a Pan-Pacific Veterinary Conference, which happens once every 5 years, and that's where the New Zealand Veterinary Association and the Australian Veterinary Association get together, and they get vets from Australia and New Zealand. So it's a really nice, big group of delegates.
Now, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, conference, it's time to kind of chill out and party and all the rest of it. But from the rundown, I can see it was pretty busy and there were a lot of different sections. What was the most interesting for you?
Oh gosh, I'm a stream hopper, which means I tend to cross my streams. So there's the small animal stream, there's the practice management stream, there's the equine stream, and so on. And I go to lots of them. So I went to some of the exotics pets lectures. I went to some practice management. I went to some small animals. I tried to go to as many as I could to get as much out of it as I could. It was amazing. There was so much choice. There were 8 streams running concurrently, so you could choose between one of 200 sessions. So wow. It was a little bit crazy trying to decide between some of them at times. There were some fantastic plenary speakers. The very first lecture was given by Professor Peter Doherty, who's the only veterinarian to have won a Nobel Prize, and he gave a great talk about his career trajectory. And he just started off as a humble vet student at the University of Queensland, had no idea that he was going to become a world-famous immunologist and influenza researcher, and talked about the importance of everyone communicating ideas in science much better. That was fantastic. There was a brilliant talk by Annabelle Crabb about the idea of having it all, particularly with more women in the profession, this concept that you can have it all, i.e. career, children, fabulous relationship. She really debunked that myth, and she said if you want to have it all, it is possible, but you actually need to have someone else who can do at least half of it with you. So you can have it all as long as you don't do it all. Yeah. And that was quite an entertaining session. There was also Michael Knox, who's an economist, who gave us some very helpful predictions about the economy. I won't share those because I don't want to take responsibility if they're wrong, but if they're right, they're fantastic. There was a plenary discussion by Peter Collignon, who's a medical doctor who's very interested in One Health, and it was about antimicrobial resistance, which is a major threat to the health of Australian people and animals. So that was very educational.
Well, there's certainly lots of changes going on in the veterinary profession, but one of the major changes that has been, I guess, with you all you vets for a very, very long time is depression in the workplace.
Yeah, and that was something that was brought up in a range of ways at the conference. First of all, the AVA has a wellness stand, which they've run every year, I believe, for at least 5 years, and that's run by a fantastic team of volunteers. The idea is that you go in and you have your health parameters checked, but you can also do mental health questionnaires and just see where you're at in terms of your mental health. And I think that's been very important in increasing awareness about depression and burnout in the profession. The other big thing this year was they ran a symposium. It was called the First International Symposium on Veterinary Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, which is a really good thing because suicide in veterinarians is very high, as is suicide in veterinary nurses, and that's probably, the latter is probably overlooked a little bit. And that symposium was quite incredible. Lots of people attended both in person and via webcast, and there were lots of very senior vets who were explaining that they'd had major battles with depression and burnout, and some of them had survived suicide attempts. And it was a very positive workshop about things that we can do to move forward. And the nice thing was that the people who had attempted suicide and survived were all very happy and had great reasons to keep going, and yeah. It was a really positive thing. Yeah. So that was nice.
Well, I know that music can calm animals as well as people, and there's the Veterinary Orchestra. Did you go and see them play at all?
I actually didn't make it this year because I was at another event for a special interest group, but I saw them at their inaugural conference in Perth last year. The Veterinary Orchestra was the brainchild of Dr Mike Wooden from Sugarland Animal Hospital, and he was always a musician, but when his father passed away, he had a bit of a tough time, and he went back to music as a way of, I guess, venting, relaxing, thinking about something else completely. And what was really amazing watching the first Veterinary Orchestra concert was how many vets secretly played musical instruments. It's like seeing all these people with hidden superpowers that you didn't know they had. They're quite incredible, very talented musicians in our profession.
Yeah.
And I believe we are much better than the Doctors Orchestra.
Oh, okay. Well, we could have an orchestra playoff somewhere. Maybe it's the Opera House. We might try and organise that. Alrighty. So tell me about telemedicine. What's that all about?
Well, the idea is that it allows you to consult remotely, where in some cases that might be appropriate. For example, if you're practicing over a very large area, particularly livestock veterinarians, you can look at and view the herd and consult with your client and dispense medications and, do a visual examination, all of those things without actually physically having to be there. That's important, and it gives people access to treatment that they might not otherwise have had for their animals. The other potential application of telemedicine, as I understand it, is that in remote practices where veterinarians want a specialist opinion, they can purchase telemedicine equipment, and that allows a specialist to dial in and actually visually examine an animal or a surgery in detail and provide advice in real time, which can be life-saving.
Well, we do that for humans already.
Absolutely. Yep, it's done in rural practice.
Heart monitoring, etc., etc.
Correct. Yep. So that's something that's probably going to be seen more. I think the application is more for remote veterinary practice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't want diagnosing over Skype.
Definitely not. Some vets have gotten themselves in hot water doing exactly that. So I think it's a fine line, but where it's established and done properly, I think it's a very powerful tool.
Absolutely. No, I'm diagnosing Phil's nose here. It's quite.
It's probably running a little.
It's a little bit dribbly.
Well, Phil has got allergic rhinitis, so he does have a bit of a runny nose, and he has the ability to shoot out monster boogers that can measure anywhere from 4 to 12 centimetres.
We might leave that for another time, Dr. Anne.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us on Vet Talk TV.